Hello, everyone, and welcome to PAEA's April WebinART, Centering Yourself as Parent, Teacher, and Artist through Sketch Journal Organizers. Tonight, we will hear from Liza Johnson, Melanie Wassom, Shannon Stallings, Julia Nelson, and our PAEA Art Education Technology Chair, Danielle Crow, who are all currently teaching in the State College Area School District. Registered participants will receive a Google Form link via email in a day or two to fill out for their 1 hour of Act 48 credit. This webinar will be recorded and available at a later date on the PAEA website. Before we begin the webinar, we are asking participants to mute their microphones and keep their video off during the presentation. Those controls are located in the bottom left corner of the controls bar. We are also asking everyone to sign in on the chat roll. Please use the same name in which you registered for this event. The chat roll can be found along the bottom in the controls bar as well. Signing in will ensure that you receive the Act 48 link. You may also use the chat roll to ask the presenters questions. The ladies will be monitoring the chat, so feel free to ask questions as you have them. We will have a more open Q&A period after the presentation if you would like to hold your question until then. Let's get this webinar rolling. Ladies, take it away.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and get us started. Okay. Let me see if I can move this. Okay, good. Hi, my name is Liza Johnson. I teach elementary art in State College, and I wanted to see if I'm sorry, things are showing up on my screen a little bit differently than usual. And I just wanted to see, oh, okay. There, that helps. Okay, sorry. So like I said, I teach elementary school art in State College, and my wonderful group of colleagues from State College have been wonderful enough to agree to help me with this idea that I had. I guess this was at this past PAEA, it was our second time presenting together about being an art educator and a parent at the same time and how we balance that. What we're going to do is I'm going to go through our slideshow, and we're each going to, we each have a slide. We're going to introduce ourselves, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why we've done this, how it has evolved over the past couple of years, and then we're going to talk about how I feel like teaching and parenting has, our idea has changed over the past couple years of why we've done what we're doing, but suddenly in the past couple months, it has changed even more. And so we have lots to talk about after we get through that part of the introductions and stuff. But so I actually started out teaching my very first year of teaching way back in the year 2000 in Fairfax County, Virginia. And then I got engaged right before I started in Virginia. And during my year in Virginia, my husband and I decided that we wanted to raise a family in Pennsylvania and not in Virginia. So I moved back and did a few years of subbing. And in 2004, I was hired when I was pregnant for a part-time position in Quakertown Community School District, and went out on maternity leave that year in February. And actually, when I returned from my maternity leave the next year, I was already, big surprise, was already pregnant with my second. So I went out on maternity leave that second year of teaching in Quakertown. And at that point was when I decided that it was best to just stay home with my kids for a while. And then we moved to Bellefonte while I was at home with my kids. And in 2000, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the years off the top of my head, but 2012 to 2015, I have there, I was subbing. I did most of my subbing in Bellefonte, but just, I don't know how it happened, but it was wonderful. It happened upon a part-time position in State College. And in 2018, I moved to full-time. And so this is my second year of full-time. And with my, oh, I forgot to mention that during my time off, I had 2 more kids. And the picture up here at the top was taken the day before Easter. And I like that picture, just amazes me because they are humongous at this point. And yeah, I love where I've ended up. It's crazy, but great at the same time. And I will pass it on to who's next, Shannon.
Oh, hi everybody, Shannon Stallings. I see some familiar names on here, not everybody's faces yet. So I know some of you have seen this presentation and others maybe know through pre-service experiences or other conferences. So it's nice to see everybody on here. So I initially started my endeavors with art, not even knowingly into art education at St. Joseph's University with a fine arts degree. And my parents said, you know, like, what are you going to do with that? And then after I graduated, I worked in market research for a little while and eventually was not working with children and was missing that aspect, missing the creative side, but also working with students and other people. So I went back to school at Penn State for the CERT program. And then when I was finished with that, I long-term subbed in Lancaster City, not even in art education, but teaching 1st grade and 2nd grade with a lot of tears between not being certified to teach that and then also being in an urban school district. But it was very rewarding. And then I got married and got my first position here in State College, which is where I student taught. So I was able, you know, my mentor teacher was able to let me know that there was a retirement and I was able to interview and fortunate enough to be offered a position here. In my first year, I was pregnant with my son, Henry, who will be 7 tomorrow. And he's in the State College area school district as well. And then in 2015, my daughter was born and I will finish up my master's at Lock Haven next year. I feel extremely blessed and it's really awesome to see all the faces on here, not only in my own department, but it's such a neat experience to watch each other evolve as Liza's talking and she interviewed for my maternity leaves and to get to know people and then to think about how these relationships have evolved. And, you know, one of my main philosophies in education is building relationships, which I think it is for most of us. So it's really neat to not only see my colleagues here in State College, but also other faces, Jan, Olivia, I mean, several faces on here. It's so neat to watch each other evolve and share our stories. So it's really, really exciting to be here with all of you today. And I'll pass it on.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm Danielle Crow. I know a lot of your names also. Looking forward to seeing your faces later in this presentation. Hopefully we can all just talk. I know a lot of you know me and know my story professionally and as a parent. Just wanted to be an art teacher in high school. It was either art or gym because I thought that I liked the way the gym teachers dressed. I really wanted to dress like a gym teacher but teach art, but you know, I'm not actually an athlete, so that made no sense at all. But yeah, I got right into art teaching first in Pittsburgh area for a while and then came to State College for the interview practice and never left. And some years into my career, I'm in my 19th year now, started down the journey of trying to have a family. Very complicated for me, partly because I'm married to a woman but also partly because my fertility suffered. I just had not, I mean, your fertility suffers when you're not sleeping with a man for sure, but it really suffered from other things as well. Just a crazy roller coaster of fertility treatments for years that finally resulted in my daughter. And then thought that maybe the second kid would be easier. He was not. It was another roller coaster, even harder. That one was IVF and super complicated. My wife was my egg donor. Miscarriages in between kids and before kids and along the way, and a real roller coaster to be on, and still trying to teach art. But I always found work to be kind of an emotional respite for me from that, which if we're updating these slides, I'm just updating mine verbally for our present moment in this COVID quarantine. It's really clear to me how much going to work has been my emotional break from everything else in my life, because without it, you are just sitting with it all the time and you can really feel it. And I mean, I love my kids. I obviously, but I also sometimes get in this kind of pressure situation of like, I worked so hard for them that I should appreciate them like at an even deeper level than people who just have like accidental surprise babies. But that's really, I think you love your kids. And even when you work really hard for them, you still can get really sick of them when they're not going to school and you're not going to work. Like I said at the bottom of my slides, I realized I wasn't cut out to be a stay-at-home mom for sure. And in my speaker notes, I said something else about it too. And I was like, wow, I could update that now. Like, as much as I adore these children, I find myself like lately getting kind of, and I adore my wife too, like our marriage is surviving this quarantine, but I find myself getting jealous of my divorced friends because they get to send their kids away for a while. I know, I'm sorry, that's awful. I hear like my friends are talking on the phone to their friends and they're like, are you at your mom's or your dad's? And I'm like, oh my God, wouldn't that be nice to just like mix up homeschool a little? It's so weird to do this with everybody else muted. Thank goodness I can see a few faces and I know that they're laughing at that. Like it feels kind of horrible, but I guess the point is that this business of trying to homeschool and teaching art online is so hard. It's not, I mean, now I am also jealous of like math teachers, weirdly, because at least I understand how they do what they do online, right? Like none of us know quite how to do what we do virtually, or anything close to it. We're just trying to figure out the best semblance of an art experience for our students from a distance. And now with our kids right there with us, my kids now are 6 and 10, and you know, they're my favorite students ever in my homeschool, but I am so bad at homeschooling. Like I have to let a lot go. At the very beginning of this, I remember having a beautiful dream of how this quarantine was going to go. We were going to learn French together. We were going to have a lot of like, I was going to turn into this really good cook and make amazing meals that we would sit down and just look at. I was just like open mouth laughing at that one. Yeah, I'm not a cook. I don't know where I was getting these ideas that all of this was going to change in quarantine, because it hasn't. It's just put this light on how much harder that balance is between work and life when they're happening at the same time in the same place. Like, I realize that you can't really balance your work life and your home life when your children are standing on one side of the scale. Like, they're going to win every time because you can't send them to their other parents because we're not divorced. So they're going to win, and my art students are going to suffer. And it's not like my kids are having the best homeschool experience ever. Later, if we go back to this topic, I have something to share from a high school student that wrote about being homeschooled when she was young, and that in her 7-year-old brain, it was like what it would be like for us to have your boss suddenly come get in your bed and curl up and be like, I sleep here now. And you're like, no, that's not, those are different roles. Like, you are my mom, you are not my teacher. Those are different roles, and you can't just jump into that role and make it magical right away. So enough about that. I'm sure that's a topic we'll get back to as the evening goes on, because I'm sure we'd all like to just weigh in on that balance. But it's funny, balancing ourselves was one thing last time we gave this presentation, and it's a whole nother now, but I'll stop talking and let it move on down the line.
No, that's wonderful, Danielle. Okay, let me see. Julia.
All right, this time I remember to unmute myself. Yay. Yeah, I'll make mine real short. I've been teaching for about 100 years, so and I have kids. So yeah, I come from New Hampshire and followed my husband out here. He got a job at Penn State, so I came out too, you know, in the middle of nowhere. But it's been great. It's been the best place, I think, to raise our 3 kids, and you can see pictures of them in their various stages of development. Yeah, I will say very quickly, piggybacking on some of the stuff that everyone said, it's a balancing act, as I'm sure, I mean, that's why you signed up for the webinar tonight. You know, how are you all doing it? And I just wanted to let you know, I have, my daughter is in college, and it was really interesting to see her Zoom for a few days before I began to do it. My oldest he just graduated out of college, and so trying to get him out of the house to get a job, which you can't get unless you're an Instacart person, was very interesting, you know. And then to have, I have a high school senior at home, and we just found out last week that there won't be any, you know, real graduation and ceremony, and that's every now and then that hits, and he just goes into this downward spiral. And I try to do things like, oh wow, it's really cool though, because you'll be able to tell people years later that you were part of this weird thing that happened. And he looks at me like, what? So you know, we're trying to make the best of it as far as that goes. I'm really fortunate because I think back to what Danielle was saying about being a stay-at-home mom in the summer. I would always start every summer out with my kids when they were younger. We are going to learn this. It's going to be awesome. You're going to learn a different language this summer, same as you, Danielle. And you know, after about maybe, you know, 3 hours, that would change. And I would say, oh, well, you know, let's all go to the pool or something. But my youngest, about 2 weeks ago, we had a come to Jesus moment. And I said, okay, we got to get on a schedule. This is not working. And you're behind 5 things. And the teacher that was working with him was even saying, wow, you're doing a really good job. And I'm sitting there going, no, he's not. So it's been really wild. I would say one of the things that I wanted to say, unless if I was frozen and got cut off or anything, was it's taken us longer than I thought. So your timing, your time frame really has to expand. And once you do that, I feel so much better knowing that I'm not going to get it all done in 2 weeks, or I'm not going to get to this point. It's going to take at least a month to get where I thought a week would do. So anyway, love my kids, love my husband, but want to go back to school.
Julia, okay, I think you have a couple more slides here. Do you want?
Yeah, I don't know if the slideshow is going to be shared with everybody, but
okay.
I did want to add a few things, but we can come back to it later. Just things that have really helped. Yeah.
Okay. So, and Melanie.
Hi. It's just so nice to be with everybody. And I just want to echo what my colleagues have said. You've made me laugh and feel like, yes, my art teacher people are my people. So I'm really looking forward to when we can open things up to everybody. I, like Shannon, I did a post-bac path towards teaching. And in the 15 years since my oldest of my 2 daughters was born, I've been really lucky in that I've spent between 4 and 5 years as a full-time stay-at-home mom. And between 7 and 8 of those years, I was working full-time like I was before my kids. And I also had somewhere between 1 and 2 years of part-time work. Yes, I had to look down. I had to literally do the math to make sure I had that right, adding up to 15. But it's been equally wonderful and equally awful to be in all of those roles. And I am grateful for all of them, but don't necessarily feel like any one of them is, man, that's my wheelhouse. You know, I vacillate kind of wildly between feeling like things are great and boy, we all really get along here, and the Marie Kondo method is going to work for me. And on the other side, I'm just like, my God, if we can keep things sanitary enough for everybody, we're good. And, you know, have the kids eaten? I have no idea, but the dirty dishes are in the sink. So yes, they've probably eaten something. There's some evidence. The whole balance thing, I think that work-life balance is very different now that we're trying to balance it all under one roof. And I think that's kind of just going to be a big talking point for all of us tonight, is trying to figure out, you know, we've learned a lot from these experiences of working and parenting in the way we knew how to do that when being able to leave our house more often. So that's probably all I really need to say to intro before we kind of dive into that a little farther. I'm grateful to be with my people and to have such a great team.
Yeah.
Grateful to Liza.
Melanie, I just want to say, I 100% agree with you on the being at home versus working full time being equally wonderful and equally terrible, or however you said it. I so agree with that, because I look back to my time with, you know, there was one point when I had 3 kids in diapers for a very short period of time, and I just can't, the exhaustion, like just the complete exhaustion back then. But, you know, and now it's, you know, it's just different craziness, like a complete and total different kind of craziness now with kids in high school and working full time. But I'm gonna move to the next slide. So this is the slide that this is actually our slideshow from in October when we did this at the conference. And I want to remember to say that if anybody would like a copy of the slideshow, or if I can get your email, I think I can probably get everyone's email from Jill, and I could share the slideshow with you, because there might be a couple of things. I did put a couple of links in here, and I want to make sure that you guys can get in contact with us. I know a number of you were at our presentation in October, but so here are all of our email addresses. And okay, so I wanted to make sure, give you a very brief history of how we have come to this point. 2 years ago, I came up with this idea, and it was mainly born out of this, like, something that hasn't been quite as important to me anymore. But in the beginning, I had kind of this almost like an anger over how hard it is to, after you take time at home with your kids, it can be such a challenge to find your way back to teaching. And so in the very beginning, this idea was mainly me wanting to like vent a little bit about that time in my life. And looking back, like I feel like I mean, I know I found my way back in a surprisingly easy way. Actually, the part-time position in State College was so perfect for me at that time. And I know a lot of people would be like, 0.38 position, like who really wants a 0.38 position? But I remember back then, I subbed for 3 years, like that's really, I know of a lot of people that have had it much harder than that to find their way back in. But so in the beginning, I was just hoping to like give some of my experience, pass that along to others, and also talk about, you know, parenting as an art teacher. Then the next year, in that first year, we had a great conversation, but we only did an hour-long presentation, and we could have talked much longer. So we decided to do it as a workshop the next year, but I was just trying to think of something so that we could have it as a workshop. I came up with the idea of the sketch journal organizers, which there isn't really a way for us to make those tonight because, you know, the shipping things is, if we had to order things from Amazon, not everybody has. It's kind of the same thing that we all are running into with our students right now. Not everybody has the same materials at home. But I did want to, so I came up with the idea of sketch journal organizers because as a parent, I'm always trying to plan everything and try and keep making my own artwork. And so I came up with this idea of, you know, an organizer that also has a sketchbook in it, because when I'm sitting at the pool waiting for my son to finish swim practice or something, I can, you know, jot down things that I need to do tomorrow at school, but also take a little time to sketch on my own. So anyway, we made these at the conference in October, and these are the slides from that, and that's how the heat bond stuff works. But I added in today, this is actually the video that I relied on to figure out how to make the sketch journal organizer. And so I can share this with you so that if anybody wants to watch that, that's basically how we made the journals at PAEA. And these are the notebooks that I handed out that we used to make them. I also have a Pinterest board that I had made that has just some journal ideas. And these are, this is the small one, like we made at PAEA. This is a bigger one that is my main one that I normally use, and I actually have 4 books in it. I have one book is for home organization, one book is for school organization, one is just inspiration, just anything that any quote that I come across or anything that I want to write down and remember. And then the last book is my sketchbook. And those, you know, I keep those beside me while I'm in my studio doing Zoom meetings with classes or meetings with my colleagues, and just for any time I need to write something down. But so, and there are so many videos, and that whole idea I came across. I had never heard of these traveler's notebooks. Are like this big thing for people that do a lot of traveling and stuff. And I came across that idea and was just doing research on different types of organizers and journals. And there are so many YouTube videos of different ways of making your own. So it's a helpful thing. Actually, Melanie has shared a little with us about how she has used hers over this time at home. Great. So I'm hoping that maybe she'll share a little bit more about that at some point tonight. But let me see. Oh, okay. So this is actually the last slide here of the slideshow. And then I'm hoping we can just chat a lot. I looked this up earlier this evening, and now I'm trying to remember. I believe that we went on spring break. I think the last day that we taught in our buildings was March 6th. Is that right, guys? Does that sound? And then, okay. So March 6th, we started our spring break thinking that we were going back to school after we had a week off. And that Wednesday, and I remember because I went to the eye doctor that day and picked out new glasses and had my eyes, and you know, that was the beginning of when I had been ignoring the news up to that point. And right before spring break, our superintendent sent out an email about the possibility of having some time off from this coronavirus thing. And I was like, oh, maybe this is something I should actually like read up on a little bit, because my kids had mentioned it and I was just ignoring it up until that point. But so anyway, over spring break, I had been checking into it some more. I'm sorry, I have a child doing weird thing. Hey, Liddy, turn that down. Okay, sorry. So I had been checking the internet and was using Twitter as like a main source of information. So I went to the eye doctor that morning, had my eyes dilated, and I had never had that done before, but the doctor told me I was going to be fine to drive home, that it would just, she said I'd be able to see at a distance, but that it would make things close up hard to see. So it was terrible. I should not have driven home that day. I got home, was trying to check Twitter and couldn't see a thing on my phone, and decided to lay down and take a nap, and woke up to my phone ringing, and it was a message from our school district saying that an email had been sent out with important information. And so at that point I could read, because I had slept for a while, I could read my email and found out that we were closed for the next 2 weeks, and that the first week would be for us to take time for planning how to teach online, and that the following week would be us teaching online. And obviously we haven't been back since and won't be back. And things have really evolved. I feel like every week they've added a little bit more or changed a little bit more. Although I will say, I think we have finally gotten to the point where we know what we're doing and what the plan is for the remainder of the year. But it's been a roller coaster and very odd. And now I am teaching online with 4 kids in my house who are also doing school online. And it's, I don't even know what to say about it. It's crazy. Like, who could have imagined this is where we would end up? So yeah, I'm really interested to hear what's going on in other districts and how other people are dealing with things, because I certainly don't know what I'm doing right now. So we were discussing this the other night, and Melanie had a wonderful question that I thought would be great for us to start off. And my state college people, does anybody have anything else that they want to jump in and say here at this point before we?
I'll say something, Liza. This is Julia Nelson. I put that extra slide in about things you could do, just because I've taken advantage of a lot of the stuff that PSEA has put out there, and of course now, you know, PAEA, we're doing some stuff too. But I would say any chance that anybody has to do something, even if it sounds like, you know, a waste of your time, any of that stuff that talks about, you know, dealing with things or circling up or whatever, you can always blip out. That's a nice thing about the Zoom meeting. You can always, like, you know, leave the meeting. But a lot of it's really, really good. I went to one last week, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was really, really nice, even though I was the only one in the room, you know, technically. It was really, really good. So I just wanted to say a lot of that stuff came from that. You know, we're all here, and there will be days that when you do really, really well, and there'll be days when you are your worst. You are teaching at your worst, and it's okay.
What was it you went to, Julia, that was so good?
we went to a webinar with a woman named Lauren Williams, and she's a yoga teacher, and she also teaches, her email is KSD. I don't know what the K stands for, in Pennsylvania. She's from PEA. I've already done a lot of yoga in my life, and so I said, well, I'll get Act 48 for it, it'll be cool. I realized some things I hadn't dealt with, even though it was all fun and cool and I had my kids with me. And the stuff that she did and some of the mindful activities, wow, I needed to revisit. And I didn't realize how much I needed it. It was good. Yeah.
Mindfulness was also on the list of things I was going to master in my homeschool, but it didn't. I've had to learn a lot about what to just let go. I mean, we're not going to learn French anytime soon, and like letting go has been really therapeutic for me. But the mindfulness, I really do want to go back to. I think I need it as much as my kids. I've noticed I'm so good at giving my high school kids advice and so bad at following it myself, like telling kids like, look, I know you have a lot that you're trying to navigate being this independent learner. This creative stuff, it's not important to me that you get it done at any certain timeline, but I think it will help you to get it done. And then when I finally made myself make art, like even just when one of our colleagues started a Getty art and quarantine challenge in the department, and when I finally just made myself do that just so I could participate, I was like, that felt better than anything else that's happened in quarantine. Like, why am I not doing what I'm telling my students to do, to make art and do creative things to help with just managing the generalized anxiety of not knowing what this thing is really and where it's going to go and how long it's going to last. So those are my two favorite things, are to what can I just let go? Because you know what, maybe Legend of Zelda is a homeschool curriculum, and really, my kids are upstairs right now, they're learning resource management and physics, and they can read a map of a fictional land, whatever that, they're learning stuff. And I actually really like Legend of Zelda too. So that's been the joy of our quarantine. And once I just let go, learning French and mastering things that weren't for us, and I Legend of Zelda, that's where it's at for us at this homeschool. And I'm fine with that. That feels good, and it's kind of working. And I have this pressure too, probably all of us do, that you do want your kids to look back on this very bizarre period of life fondly. Maybe it feels like this weirdness and stressful to us, and we don't want them to feel that, but we want them to look back at this magical time. And when you put that pressure on yourself to keep it magical, that never really works to you can't just make it magical. I think when you get yourself in a good place, it's easier to make it easier for your kids, both your homeschool kids and your classroom kids. But there's so much we have to let go of and figure out what is worth putting time and energy into.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I've been hearing Danielle and listening or reading the chat, and
Yes.
I am hearing the word grieving has come up. And I was actually standing in the kitchen just yesterday with my high schooler, and we went through the stages of grief very intentionally, which really were, they seemed so appropriate. And yes, I think the denial Liza referred to, oh, I should be paying attention to the news more. And then definitely some anger. And we realize that right now, if we're really going through the 5 stages of grief, we're in the bargaining phase, which is just weird. Things just get bizarre, these strange trade-offs. And yes, Jessica, it involves wine and baths and strange, I don't know. It's definitely been defeating too. I was reading what Amanda had written about just all of the time that we're investing in planning lessons for students. And if we're lucky, maybe half of them are showing up. I don't know, in elementary land, I get a handful. So I don't know, I guess I'm thinking about the question that I know Liza has up about what is getting you through this right now. And it sounds like right now we've got TikTok, Legend of Zelda, wine, baths, and this is a good list, it's,
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering, what are you craving? What are the things that you are missing or craving or needs that you feel? Because we are with our art teacher people, and you know, that is the way to happiness, is to be able to help each other out. And that's why I was really looking forward to this time this evening, so that we can lift each other up. I do want to go get more wine, but I'm going to hold off for a little while because the recycling bin is looking bad. They know we didn't have a party. Oh,
right. Piggybacking on what Melanie's saying, this is Julia Nelson right now. It is okay to have wine, and it's okay to cry. Crying is like wine sometimes. We look at the two and we go, oh, we shouldn't be doing that now or talking about that now, or maybe now isn't the time to. Yes, it is. It's okay. It's great. It's good.
I do want to address Amanda. I think when I think about everything that's happened in like the perfect world of teaching that we love so much, and I've thought 1 minute I want to kill my partner, and the next minute I don't know what I would do without my partner. And I've said a few times, I don't know how single parents can do it. And I noticed that Amanda mentioned that when in the chat that you know, sometimes it's more work for her. And another thing that I've recognized, I know this is about centering as parents, but one thing that I've noticed in our department here in State College is we do have art teachers who are not parents per se, and some of them are at home and struggling emotionally as well on their own. And sometimes I think, wow, I'm blessed to have this activity in my house to keep my mind off my own crazy mind. And so like reaching out to colleagues who don't have children or are alone, and their own well-being and them feeling caged in without the resources to let their own creativity flow too. But Amanda, I don't know if you want to speak about your, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I've often wondered throughout this in a normal day, I don't know how single parents do it, but during this time, you know, what's that like to have a house that's all to yourself and then the next minute not? It's like you have all this breathing room and then none at all, or, you know, like what is that like? Do you want to speak to that at all? And if not, don't feel pressure. I'm just curious myself.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump in here real quick just to let everybody know that at this point, the presenters did ask for this to be a more open conversation. So we are at this point letting you decide how much you want to participate. Again, we are recording this for the PAEA website, so you may continue to put questions and comments in the chat, or you, of course, may go down to the controls in the bottom and unmute yourself and restart your video if you would like to participate more openly in the conversation.
Our district has hosted listening circles for teachers where we just like kind of go through and say what we need to say, but then they ask structured questions about like, you know, what can you control, what's been the hardest, whatever. It really does help just to talk about it. We started doing listening circles for seniors too, who are grieving the lack of prom and the lack of graduation. And they're all really like wonderfully positive and cool about it. But I think it does help them to just know that adults care enough to listen. And like, we need that for each other too. That's another place where I'm like, why am I telling my seniors they'll feel better if they talk about it, and then failing to talk about it myself? So I just, yeah, let's just let everyone chime in with what you want to share. It's helpful, like yoga.
I had an opportunity, I don't know if you can, I guess, can hear me. On Friday, the students at Tyler School of Art at Temple had offered a 1-hour wellness, let's see, they called it Art as Wellness. And so, you know, it's their practicing course, but they offered it open to people to come in and participate. And it was an hour of drawing together. 2 different students gave a prompt. And they were, you know, prompts that you could use as a little bit of mini art therapy. As they're practicing, that we just had an hour to draw together, and it was, the prompt was, you know, where were you when, or how did you feel right before you found out school was going to be canceled? And that was, we were doing a mandala, and that was half of the mandala. And then you did, you know, how do you feel now that you're in the process of, you know, what's going on teaching from home? The other prompt was, what are you most looking forward to when this is all over? And, you know, it kind of the general consensus, it was a lot of different things that people were looking forward to, but they all involved just that personal connection, that getting to see family, friends. I am one of those people that, luckily, I am not trying to teach and have my kids at home. My kids are grown, so I am home by myself with my husband, of course. So that was really nice to be able to have that and have that opportunity. And that was, again, through Tyler School of their art therapy courses. And I think they're doing another one May 1st. So if you're interested in that, but just kind of look that up.
Hey, Beth, can you share that? Can you share the site with us? Put it in the chat. That sounds really cool. Oh my gosh.
I will go ahead and put that in there. It was worth the hour. It was just a nice relax. There's only I would say a dozen of us, but it was definitely worth the time, and to take that break that I've not been doing, because of course trying to fit everything in with teaching online, but it was nice to have that break to just draw and chat with other people in the same circumstance.
Hey, Bess, those of us who teach middle and older kids, wow, there were 12 people in that group drawing. Wow, that's exciting. It's hard for us to get the older kids to come sometimes to these things.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jill, sorry, I just wanted to make sure that Andrea is able to unmute herself. And I just saw that in the chat. She couldn't do it.
Ooh.
And Nicole can't either. So we want to make sure that we allow that for everybody.
Amanda, I think we could hear your background noise. So I think if you...
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things you guys are talking about, like, I think one of the hardest parts for me, it's, first of all, everyone's so well put together. I did not think that I was going to be visible. So, but
only from the waist up, Amanda, only from the waist up.
They're wearing sweatpants. It's all good. I'm sure there are way fewer bras than you would think happening right now.
I had 2 other Zooms today, so I had to put on clothes.
But I think one of the other hardest parts about all of this, I mean, besides what everyone had already said, was like I'm generally like really enthusiastic, and like my energy feeds off of my students' energy. But like that energy is literally just not there. Like I've had Zooms and one kid comes to each one. So like we're not allowed to have a one-on-one conference.
Yes.
So those kind of things, I'm like, I hit it hard. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this is gonna be great. Like this is how I'm gonna make my connections with my students. And then they don't show up and I'm heartbroken about it. You know, it's hard not to take it personal.
Right.
And then I'm so aware of all of the obstacles that my students are dealing with. I sent out a questionnaire at the very beginning of this to kind of survey like what materials they had, what their expectations were. Because I teach ceramics, art journaling, AP Studio, and I co-teach a community art class. And, I was like, all right, if they want to go like traditional assignments, I'll do traditional assignments. But, they all said they wanted to do something creative. So I was like, oh, yes, okay, this is what I was hoping. So, I go in and I hit it hard. And then again, nothing in return. And even from the AP girls, like there's 4 girls in the AP Studio art class. And, it's like AP. So you're like, okay, well, they're going to be dedicated. And one of them is, with the other 3, like I'm calling home every day. I might be more worried about their portfolio than they are. And like, I just don't have that instant feedback from them. So like, like the highs and the lows, it's crazy. And it takes so long to hear back from them. It's not instant like it would be in the classroom to like get an instant remedy. That's where I'm struggling a lot with.
Right. Does it help to hear you're not the only one? You just took my speech away from me, Amanda.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to say everyone has a similar issue, and it seems like you need a Zoom to vent. So we might want to put together something a little larger, because I think you've hit on something really, really important, that you're all feeling different aspects of things in your personal lives or your teaching professional lives that are not serving you. So it's good to hear that, Amanda, you might be having the same issue that Danielle's having, or Danielle, don't run away. Run away. But we're all there. So maybe this will be the springboard to doing something on a larger scale, where everybody can come and vet with the beverage of their choice on a day that would be suitable, and you can hear that you're not alone.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, it does help. It certainly helps to like, because like, kind of like the single parenting thing, I don't have that sounding board to like just let this out with. If I do, I can call my friends, and like I have a great support system. It's not that I don't, but like, it's again, not instant feedback. Like, you know, if I want to like go outside and scream real quick, like it doesn't really do anything because no one's on the inside saying like, you want to talk about it. So like it makes it a little bit more challenging that way. And my son, God bless his heart, he's fun when we don't have to do schoolwork. You know what I mean? But he doesn't want to do it. He thinks he's home for summer and I'm only making him do this stuff because I'm a and like meanwhile he's talked to his friends and they're telling him like, no, I have to do my schoolwork too, but he doesn't believe it because he can't see it. It's this through his eyes because like I think at 7, I expect him to like, I don't know, he talks older than he is, so sometimes I assume he gets things a little bit more than he does, but he is struggling with it. Like he's not really coping with it at all. So when it's time to sort of face it, he acts out on it. And I mean, I'm doing the same thing at this point, but.
Amanda, I was reading something today. It had, I guess it was in another country where the kid did not believe that he felt like he had meltdowns every day because he was afraid he was the only one that was home and he felt tortured. So the mother made a point of taking him for a drive and showing him nobody's on the street, nobody's on the playground, that everything is taped off. And once he saw that he was in this with everybody else, he was okay and he could focus. So I wonder if a car field trip for your little one wouldn't be such a bad idea. Maybe take some photographs and make it part of his day.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I can definitely try it. I live in Grove City, so I'm only an hour north of Pittsburgh. I don't know.
Sure.
But it's like there's people always outside, so everyone's walking. But you know, he sees it most whenever like he's been real into DoorDash. Like, let's get some DoorDash tonight. But then whenever he wants it, the stores are closed. Like those restaurants are closed. So I'm like, look, closed. So he knows something's up, but I don't think like when he has to do the schoolwork, he just doesn't.
How old is he? How old? Oh, 2? Is he 2?
No, 7.
7. Oh, 7. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You could do some fun field trippy things.
Amanda, I'm kind of in the same boat. I have a 2nd grade son as well. And he's 2 teacher parents who are both stuck home with him right now. And he's kind of going a little bit crazy. And I realized the other day I'm having the same issue with a lot of kids. Actually, I'm trying to do 2 sections of ceramics too with about 60 kids. And the first couple days, like I had 20 kids signed in and was on the phone forever. And then my son kind of had one of those moments of just like, complete meltdown, psychosis type of break from reality. And I sort of made that connection that like, oh gosh, okay, I'm expecting him to deal with this and my high school kids aren't even able to deal with it.
Yeah.
So it was just sort of one of those like, everybody needs to take a step back and just, I posted for my kids on Friday. Like I'm not posting anything. You guys need a break. We're just not going to do school today. And it was really, thank you. It was good. It was good. Yeah.
One of my daughter's high school teachers sent her a video for math, and it is an Elmo video from Sesame Street. And it was the most wonderful thing that came from her classwork all week long. And it made me think. There was something in the chat from Kristen about a teacher in China saying, well, scale back. We are teachers and we are used to aiming high. And so we want all of our kids, whether they live in our house or not, we're going to aim high. And so we're here trying to figure out, what does this new metric look like? What does aiming high look like under quarantine? Right. And I think I'm remembering, oh, right, like I'm not hearing from a lot of my students because there's some just basic communication from a distance stuff that they've never done before. They've never had to. And I don't know, I think that advice to scale back is really wise. That scaling back is in its own way a form of aiming high, just remembering some really basic stuff like, I don't know, send an Elmo video to a high school kid because we still have that inside.
Yeah.
One thing I did with my students, like I do a flip grid every week. So for ceramics, I was having them do like these found sculptural things. Like they had to do a project a week. Like I gave them some kind of objective to meet and then a flip grid. And the flip grade is not necessarily anything that's art content related. So like this week they have to share their favorite dad joke. So I just thought it was something to like break it up. And like I'm kind of like, I want to hear them because I need something. And like those are nice because they do, well, I mean, a little less than half of them participate in that, but at least some of them I get to see their faces and see their like smiles and hear them giggle a little bit. So that's a plus, and it helps break it up. I'm hoping it helps break it up for them a little bit, but.
I liked what Danny said about, I actually know you talked about the girl writing I know who you're talking about, that wrote about her mother doing homeschooling.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that I've really run into here at home is I'm not the teacher. And I'm not even trying to, like, I totally not trying to homeschool my kids here, but their school did not go to having required work until, well, I guess technically it starts tomorrow that their work is required now. But I have been, like, I keep saying, guys, you can't just not do, like, they've been getting some work, but they, up until now, they've kept saying, but mommy, it's optional. And and I've been like, yeah, but I need you guys doing something while I'm trying to work. But and I'm like, guys, you need to still be learning. But so I've really been dealing with the you know, I'm not the teacher, I'm the mom here at home. And but Danny, did you want to say any more about that?
Oh, I guess I should let Isabel say the rest because she said it best.
Oh yeah.
Like right when it started, I mean, and none of us knew then how long it would be going on, but the words are still true. Like, and I go back to them every day, that what my kids are going to remember about it is not that we learned French, because we're not going to, or that I turned into a great chef, because I'm not going to. I'm letting that stuff go. They'll remember that we played Legend of Zelda probably the whole way through, and that we love that. And like, that's fine. That's okay. I'm okay with that. They may be, I can't even say they'll be behind in math, because this whole batch will be, well, you know, we'll have issues with where they are on the same page with all the subjects. My kids will catch up. My kids are good at real life school. They're not good at homeschool, and because I'm not good at being their homeschool teacher, and I just have to be okay with that. I'm trying to, just like I'm really good at applying advice to my high school students that I don't take myself. I've had so much compassion for my high school students when they don't show up for Zooms, because, well, partly they know that my kids are also having Zoom meetings during my office hours. And when they do come to office hours, I'm like, yes, I can help you with that. Hold on, my kindergartner is like stuck on a thing. So they're probably like avoiding it unless they need me, because they know that I have a lot going on. But also that just, this is so much for them to deal with. Even if everyone in their family is healthy, it's just a lot. And I'm so compassionate with them, and I forget to have that self-compassion as well. So I've tried, like, Tara Brock is an expert on self-compassion. If you get a chance to listen to her, she'll make you feel better. But I thought Isabel made me feel better with her words, so I thought I'd share them.
I also find myself wondering, like, my kids have been, I mean, my kids are just acting like their normal selves, you know? And I mean, they agree that it's weird to be stuck here at home, and they wish, my oldest is the one that struggles the most with not getting to see her friends, but she's also old enough to, like, Google things on her phone and read the news, and she knows that, I mean, the first few days of when I was like, nope, we just can't go anywhere, the older ones really fought back a little bit on that, but now they know, like, now they understand that we have to do this and that it's for the best. But they seem to be acting so, like, normal overall, and I keep finding myself having just this concern about how this is really going to affect them over time. You know, it's, I don't know, does anyone else have that thoughts like that or wonderings about how, I don't know, how this is just going to affect all of these kids in the future.
I'm interested
I think
to
a
see.
lot of people, oh, so go ahead, Amanda.
Oh no, I was just gonna just kind of piggyback off of what Liza said. Like, I'm curious to see how this whole thing plays out. Like, I don't think it's gonna go back to normal when we go back to school in the fall. Like, how will our education system look after? There was a article from a Carnegie Mellon professor who said something about, like, if the virus isn't gone, maybe only certain age teachers are allowed to go back to the buildings. Or, you know, he's like, there's no normal after this. There's gonna be a new normal. You know, and it's like, well, what is it going to be like psychologically? Like, how are these kids going to be socially? I don't know, just so many weird things. So, like, if you don't have that sounding board at home, like, I don't know, I'm awkward to begin with in social situations. This is going to be worse when this is, you know, no longer my only social outlet. I don't know, it's going to be weird. Like, it's going to take like a year, like years. I don't know. I think years.
I think we've been
kids are resilient. I think I think they're going to be okay. I think it's going to take a lot of patience and flexibility with all of us, with ourselves and with them. But they're tough little buggers, and in time, they're going to be okay with the new paradigm shift or whatever it is we have to do to pivot. It's not going to be easy. I think they're going to be okay. If they're all with, you know, the people like yourselves, you'll make it work.
I think piggybacking on what Danny said and several other people have said, the kids are definitely not going to look back and say, oh, remember that time where we were going to learn French, Mom? And remember all those wonderful things we learned about, you know, derivatives and quotients and all that? No, it'll be the time when, remember you tried to make lasagna and we didn't keep it on long enough? Oh, that was fun. Or, you know, remember when I tried to sneak around you, whatever, and did this, you know, all that stuff. Hopefully, you know, that's the stuff that's going to be wonderful and connecting. Just like Danny, just like your student, is it Lisbeth? No, Olivia, your student that.
Isabel Snyder.
Isabel Snyder, yeah, just like Isabel Snyder wrote. I mean, I just think that's when she was starting to go into, so, you know, see it for what it is. That's just, those are great words.
She really does have a great relationship with her mom too. She is friends with my teenage daughter. Thank goodness for that friendship. And really, they do have that kind of mother-daughter relationship that you're like, wow, I hope we're that good. But I agree with what I think Elizabeth said about the kids are so resilient and they will be fine. What I'm super curious about right now, after reading some of the chat, I think some people in this group have really little kids, like 2 years old, just too young to really be able to dish any of this or turn on CNN 10 or how are you doing as parents of really little kids who, yes, they are super resilient and they live in like kind of where I want to be right now, I think, where this doesn't really exist.
Unmute, Nicole. Just let it out.
Yeah.
Melanie, are you laughing at me?
Yeah, oh, I totally am. I love it. Yes, I do love that too, Jan.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum.
I think I can totally speak to this. I have a 2-year-old, well, she's going to be 2 on Wednesday. And I wish I was her because she runs around the house totally oblivious to what's going on. And she's living her best life right now. And it's great. But, you know, she misses her friends at daycare and she talks about them. And I can't communicate why we aren't seeing them. And so we're really trying to learn how to teach her and keep her engaged without too much screen time, because we're really big on screen time and how much we're allowing her to watch TV. So we're trying to keep her engaged as many ways as possible. And we're also working at the same time. So that's a difficult place to be in, trying to juggle all of that, as everyone is. But with a 2-year-old, you can't say, hey, you have to be quiet. Well, I'm in the Zoom meeting right now. She doesn't understand that. So I don't have a schedule. Every day is something new. So I really miss consistency and knowing what my day is going to be like. So it's interesting.
I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and let me tell you, I live for nap time and bedtime when I do all my work. So I put in my 8-hour day till midnight. It's long days, but
Yeah.
That's my quiet time, and that's when I have my Zoom meetings because I need to be uninterrupted without screaming in the background, and I live for it.
Crystal, have you moved bedtime up to like 6 p.m.? Because I would.
No, because they get up so early. So yeah, I was putting my 3-year-old on the potty 3 times trying to get her to poop while listening to you guys like laughing in the background, like this is my life right now. This whole parenting, teaching, meeting thing. So
And Liza graciously leaving this out because I instructed her to, but all her kids are getting along, which is like, what is that magic? I only have 2, and it's like a war just ready to erupt at all moments, all waking moments of the day.
Well, that's just Crystal just saying that is making me think, you know, I mentioned that time back when I had 3 in diapers and that exhaustion, and like I can't imagine like if I were trying to do this then, like that I don't know how. But you know, my teenagers really like, they only like me sometimes, and they only want to spend time with us when we're binge watching questionable, like my husband and I's like our television, like what we think is okay, our requirements have gone way downhill. Like suddenly our kids are watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I'm like, my high school kids, and I'm like, is this really okay? Like, like we've let things go. But so that's the only time that they really want to be with me. And so they're during the day, like I can get away with closing the door of my studio and doing my work, but I do have to come out quite often and say, guys, I really, especially with recording videos, I'm like, I just like half an hour because I can't have you like screaming random weird things outside my studio door in the middle of this video. But, and high school kids are so weird. Like high school boys, my sons, I'm like, I don't know. Like, they do the weirdest things these days. But yeah, I have to admit they are actually, they're getting along shockingly.
Don't say it
well.
anymore.
I know, but I think it's because like they, at this point, like in the beginning, they were fighting back. They just wanted time with their friends. And now they've given into, okay, I'm stuck with these people. And we just have to make the best of it. So
I don't know if you like I know some of you, we follow each other on social media or whatever, but I posted on Instagram and Twitter today. It was this cute little post of it was a silhouette of a mother and child, and the mom had like the thought bubble that was like, am I reading enough? Am I learning another language? And there's like all these thoughts, like, am I doing this? Do I look okay? Like all these like worries. And then the child's thought bubble just they were looking at each other, and it was a little girl, and she was looking at her mom, and all her thought bubble said was, I love her. So I think like, as we're talking about all these things, I'm thinking we put all these expectations on ourselves. You know, obviously we all have a compassion for students, whether they're elementary, high school, preschool. And I think we put these expectations on ourselves for other people's children and for our own. And those expectations sometimes I think exceed the expectations these children have when they love us and they want our love in return, which obviously we give them typically academically, but right now if we can channel ourselves to, you know, take a step back from what we're used to and just remind ourselves that right now they just want to know they're loved in return, and it's not easy to do. But I just thought today I saw that and I thought all our heads are spinning and they're just thinking like they need that security of love right now. So easier said than done when we want to strangle them half the time, but you know, we can strangle them out of love.
Now, I kind of had a question for everybody. I had 2, but kind of going off of your whole relationship thing, not talking about just our kids, but our school kids. Like, my art room is a place that they come to cry. I'm the school guidance counselor with no choice if I want to or not. And I've had difficulties like knowing how to communicate with them. Like even like you said, we're not allowed to do one-on-one stuff. Like it's just so hard right now to make sure they're okay. And I think I worry about that too. And then another thing is them doing work and not doing work. I'm trying to tell them like, it's okay if you're not doing the work and you can't right now. Like I understand that. I'd rather make sure you're okay as a person instead of worrying about if you get an A on this project. Like I've had a couple kids who completely have done absolutely nothing in class and they saw me in public and their heads instantly went down and like ran away. So I yelled at them like, I just want to say hi. Like, you're fine. I just wonder if anyone else was kind of having the same issues or if that made sense or.
My principal is kind of gruff. And he's very much like a businessy, this is it type of person. And so, yeah, he has a lot of rules about that. But interestingly, our assistant principal, who is like, she just wants everybody, let's hold hands and kumbaya. And she said, well, why don't you reach out to kids, because I have art club. And so I started a Google Classroom page for my art club kids. And then I just sort of added other kids to, sent invites to kids who I thought might want to participate. And it was like, within 5 minutes of posting it, I had 20 kids on there saying, oh, this is the best thing ever. And I'm so excited. And they wanted to do a Zoom chat and all sorts of stuff. So I think they just needed something fun on their school, they're all on for Google Classroom for work. And now it's, oh, okay, well now I can go on and post my artwork to the Google Classroom page. And so far it's just exploded.
Awesome.
Yeah, Olivia, I think some of the pressure I feel is I need to get those assignments in and validate, columns and missing spots. And so when we have our teacher meetings, we go through every single child on the team. And when you're on 2 teams, it's pretty wild. And so then, just like you said, Olivia, a kid will come to a Zoom and they'll say, oh, never mind. And they'll Zoom out because they haven't given me anything in 3 weeks. And similar to what Jessica said, I think that's a great idea, Jessica. I started an anime, who wants to do anime, and then who wants to draw cartoon characters. And I've got some kids that would never have ever given me any art, and I'm bad at art, and I think that you're a mean person, but I want to come to this thing with my friend. And so I don't have, let's just say I have 100 kids that I want to see, and I might be the taskmaster towards them, but at least for these 12 kids, I'm not, and I think that that's okay. You get your couple of kids and you'll find it. The other thing too, Olivia, I think is sometimes we just have to take a breath and just wait, and the opportunity will present itself, and you'll be there and you'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm going to do drawing with you and your friend. And that was my third thing. I know that was something we spoke about. Be careful being one-on-one. But I've been trying to say, hey, your friend Michelle, why doesn't she come too? Really? Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. And so maybe I'll grade it without them knowing, but just like Jessica said, I think I like it's okay sometimes to be connecting more than grading.
Olivia, though, on the art room is kind of an unofficial therapy room too. I think every high school art teacher, middle school and somewhat elementary too, but especially high school, when they're going through all that angst, I think their art teachers sometimes know more about their mental health than a counselor they see once a week, because they are the rawest for us. They are like, for whatever reason, when they don't have to say it in words during a designated hour and they get to put it in a painting instead, you find out who struggles with self-harm. You find out all the things they're struggling with because they're away from their parents, for one. It's like their safe space, and they're not now. Like, I have to remind myself of that with my high school kids, that they can't give me things in an unobserved way the way they would in the classroom. Like that's the hardest thing. I can give assignments and maybe they can turn them in, maybe they can't virtually. I teach media arts. It's not as hard as things like ceramics, but it's that is really missing. I don't know how to do that virtually. That like, what do you just need to get off of your chest? Like my classroom is definitely a like group therapy, lots of days, and that's missing for all of us. And I don't know what to do about it. There's no Zoom for that, just
And it's
never take it for granted again. I know that.
It's so hard to deal with that, coupled with this large social moment when mental health is a topic that we're discussing so broadly. And like, this is a huge part of what we do every day, and we can't, but we know it's so important. How do you work through that?
When I think you were, Elizabeth, you were mentioning before, like what's maybe one of the opportunities for this whole situation. And I really, really am excited and happy that we've been talking about for at least the last decade, right? That mental health needs to be a focus. We need to focus on this ever since school shootings started happening. And now it's like this unanticipated shove that everyone's going to need therapy. My therapist, who I have an appointment with tomorrow, said at one point she thought Xanax darts would be an amazing invention, and like then, now it's just going to go into the water supply. So
I think you're right, Jess. It's really brought to the forefront what we were really missing in so many lives and our students' lives, and you can't ignore it now because it's just ubiquitous. And it's more about, maybe on the other side, we'll be more kind as a country or a school system, or looking at all those things. I know, but I mean, it's not all about performance. It's about, how you are, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, and the whole thing. Maybe that's the one bright spot that we can all look for and foster more. I know that we all do, because we're here and we're concerned and we're talking about it, but maybe the other folks will get it for a change.
One of the phrases I try to say in my classroom a lot is, remember, people are more important than things. All right, that glue stick's totally trashed out. That's upsetting. But people are more important than things. And oh yeah, you have to wait because we don't have enough glue sticks to share. But people are more important than things. So we're going to keep that as our priority. And I just, oh my gosh, that phrase, we're not very good at that. I'm not very good at that, frankly. Like, I want numbers and quantification and a timeline and but
maybe we need it on a t-shirt, Mel. Yeah. We need it on a t-shirt.
People are more important than things. I would like to send that to some leadership. And I'm so grateful for moments like when Danielle, who's our department leader, is like, oh, I might have to leave this meeting for a minute because there's a butt I might need to wipe. Like, people are more important than things. And I can't say it in my classroom enough. And now I'm like, I need to just keep saying that. I do need the t-shirt. You're right.
Or maybe we just need a hashtag on Insta. People are more important than things. I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, I'm sure I ripped it off from somewhere else. It's not mine. I just ran with it.
Or just people are more important, period.
Yeah.
I'm elementary, so along the whole line of just worrying about my kids and how they're doing at home, I have the series of books by Susan Verde, illustrated by Peter Reynolds, same one who did the Dot and Ish and all that. But Susan Verde has a series. One is I Am Human, one is I Am Love, or no, I Am Peace, and one is I Am Yoga. They're and meditation. I read the one, and I did a YouTube of just reading the I Am Human, because it starts out, we're all human, everyone, and we all have passions about things, but then at some point it goes to I can hurt people with my words, and I can be hurt, and it kind of comes back around to recognizing that we're all human. And I chose that one because I thought, oh my gosh, anyone that's home with a sibling or parents home with their kids day after day after day, they're getting on each other's nerves. And I was hoping that, just by reading it to them, and then I just gave them a prompt to do a simple drawing that went along with it, as opposed to any, grand and wonderful project. It is more addressing just, how are y'all getting along? And it's definitely a book that was worth going along with that same theme of people are more important. But it's I Am Human by Susan Verde. It's a great little story.
I think one of our colleagues in elementary did I Am Peace from that series as a read aloud, and her art lesson was reading the book and then doing belly breathing. And I thought, yes, like your breath is your best friend, and it's an art supply. It gets you thinking like an artist. That's a beautiful lesson. If you don't have paint at home, you've got your breath, and we need this.
Yeah, Courtney Latore.
Yeah, it was Courtney Latore.
Yeah.
Sounds like Courtney.
I find myself wondering a lot about how the kids are doing at home. I know I have a Flipgrid that I just started a topic of what have you been creating, and told the kids to please just, my first video is me showing something that I recently made and telling a little bit about it. And then I wanted them to respond with videos. And it's been really surprising to me what kids have been responding, and their responses are funny, and also like some of them are just so surprising, because I have kids that would barely talk during class at school who are sharing so much on their videos with me. And then I have one girl who is just getting on, and like someday, like a normal day lately is like 3 videos from her, and just telling me things that she wants to tell me. And I've been wondering just like, just what's going on with her at home. And I think everything is good at home. I've noticed in a couple of her videos, her dad in the background on his computer. And so I'm betting that he's working too, you know, and she's just, you know, a quiet thing that she can do at times is make a video for Mrs. Johnson and tell her about her dog and other, like, just other sweet things that it really means so much to me that she wants to share with me. But yeah, I just, spend a lot of time lately just wondering what kids' days are like at home.
I always think it's a comfort for the kids that are giving up graduation as they thought it would be, and prom and all the things that are hard for them, to realize that it's not just them, and it's not just this school, and it's not just this state, and it's not just this country. It's this huge band of people. So I always take comfort in that too when I'm struggling, and I really appreciate everyone who popped in tonight to mostly, just know we're not alone. Like I'm sorry if you came here thinking we had answers for you, but thank you for letting us know we're not alone. And I hope you can take some comfort in knowing that you're not either, and all of the struggles of being a virtual art teacher and a homeschool parent, or wherever you are with it, you're not alone in anything right now.
Yeah, I thought we were going to be helping everybody and giving people stuff to do. I got a list of 5 things I want to try based on everybody who came. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Right. Yeah, this has been wonderful. You know what? I felt like every time that we've done this, I feel like this is kind of our 3rd time of doing this with my wonderful colleagues. And I feel like every time I'm like, everybody's probably over the whole parenting as teachers support kind of thing. And then every time it like changes a little. And this time when Jill contacted us, or actually I guess Sue Yulig contacted me first about maybe doing a webinar, and I was like, well, I guess this is like the perfect time for us to do more, like, whatever this is, venting, supporting, like, it's definitely needed.
Julia, right. It's never going to be the thing that we don't want to hear from. We need to do it together. There's no longer, you have to DIY anything. So it was well needed. Look how many people are here and sharing, and just to know that we're all here for you for whatever it is. And kudos to all of you for doing this. Like, you don't have enough to do, Now you organize this and you put it out there, and I can't thank you enough. I enjoyed it.
Oh,
And if there's anything you all need, you know, got a new email, president@paea.org. So I'm open. You can make a suggestion if you need something, you want to vent. Just don't call me any names.
Listen,
But we're there for you.
I'm going to throw it out there that I'm fully willing to host the first WebinART and wine. Just saying.
Yes, I was just gonna say, invite me. Whoever does it, please invite me.
Right.
I got 2 boxes to go through.
Jill's probably listening. I don't think
I am. So I'm going to hold Jess Alesso to that. So I will make sure that she has access to our Zoom account, and I will train her to make sure she's all good. So I will help her schedule that. So
Julia, we have more people to come to our Friday night gig.
Yes, yes.
Oh yeah, wine in the basement. Yep.
Julie and I are like regular winos on Friday night now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
4 times.
We'll all put our sketchbooks there onto the right, you know, have a little chit chat. Just
no,
see what
we just
comes
drink.
up. Well, I mean, my pencil's always going, so you know.
Yeah,
there you
I
go.
bring my sketchbook too, and I bring my calendar in case Jan says something. I never touch it. We sip and drink and sip and drink.
I mean,
whatever floats your boat, Jewel.
Right?
We just plan the world.
Yeah.
I have to say my wine rack has never been this full before. And I just said to my husband, like, I can't, like, I cannot take a chance of running out right now.
but you're a beer, you're more of a beer.
Get toilet paper.
That's really something.
You gotta do, a girl's gotta do what a girl's gotta do.
I have champagne. I bought it on QVC.
Oh my.
All right. On that note, it sounds like we're venturing into a whole other territory.
Now
So
I
I
know you
think
can
we're
get
going to
cheap.
save that for a whole other webinar. So yes, but definitely those of you that are out there, you know, feel free, post stuff on PAEA that you'd like to just get together for a meet and greet if you want to host your own, you know, gatherings for people just to chat and get things off their chest. That would be fantastic. I know there's lots of people out there that would like to participate that. So I would like to thank everybody for participating tonight. You know, definitely for our, you know, State College group here that, you know, agreed to do this for us. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank
everybody
you.
appreciated all the sharing. So for everybody else, we really hope that you did enjoy your time with us tonight. Please make sure that you have signed in on the chat roll to verify your participation in tonight's webinar. May's webinar will be announced very soon. It is in the works. We're just finalizing it. But remember, the registration links for all PAEA sponsored events are also available on the PAEA website calendar, the PAEA Facebook pages, and most likely through an email from me, PAEA's Director of Programming, or your division or region reps. So remember to check your email, you know, tonight or tomorrow for the Act 48 link that'll be coming. And I guess we're going to call that a wrap, and good night to everybody.
Good night.
Thank you again. Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Hi, Andrea. Nice to see you.
Nice to see everyone. All
Bye,
right.
Julia. Bye, everybody.
Bye.